just have it like that, and it's obvious what it is, right? Hey, this is David with Hagerty, Redline Rebuild Updates. Today is moving day for the Buick engine. It is gonna move from the assembly stand onto the Easy Run test stand, and we're gonna bark this up. Now, the real trick on this is gonna be like where to grab it, because it's all out of handles. So that's the challenge, and hopefully it won't land on the ground. I am going to take the air cleaners off though. Four chisel sticks. Well, if I angle it, it bites it enough to get on there.
I think that's just how the Allen wrenches are supposed to work.
Yeah. Bind them up like shoving a screwdriver in it.
Phillips head?
Yeah.
The corner of the flathead.
All right, let's get those out of the way. All right, so I know everyone would love to have a magic recipe on how to do everything, but in this side of things, I obviously cannot grab a hold of an aluminum intake manifold that's held on by about 6 pinch bolts. I could lift, most likely, by the exhaust manifold because I would be in tight enough. Potentially here around the cast iron, but I want to keep this, and I do want to keep the exhaust manifold, and I'd really like to keep the intake manifold. The generator is pretty beefy. It has some pretty big bracketry on it. I can't reach to here without taking this off, and that's not going to happen because that was a pain in the butt to get on. So on the front, I think I'm going to grab this. The bear is, it's going to want to twist. Now on the back, it would be just wonderful to be able to grab a hold of this 1/2 inch plate of steel, but I need to be able to get it onto the stand and actually be able to hold the back of the motor up as well. So I can't just sling a strap underneath here and take it and unbolt it from the engine stand and then just go and place it over there, because then I can't get my flex plate on. I have no way to hold it up that I can think of right now once I'm over there. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to take this bolt right here that's holding it to the plate. There's one up on top still, or 2 up top. I'm going to take this out and actually thread it from this side and do the same thing on that side, and then I'll just loop my strap around that. I have a washer on it so it can't slip off, but then that should give me the ability to lift up on this and 2 points, and then of course the 3rd point, kind of minimize how much it's going to twist. Mainly I want to make sure it doesn't twist and then fall on the ground. I really don't see nothing else. Normally I would utilize holes that are in the back of the cylinder head, and then likewise on the front of the cylinder head, or right off the carburetor on a V8, you just lift right off the intake manifold, and oddly enough 4 5/16 bolts holds 500-600 pounds with not a problem. So 2 3/8 bolts and a generator should hold, this is probably closer to 8 if I had to guess. Fingers crossed.
Cricket?
Ugh.
Racing?
Okay.
Actually, the Baja 1000 is going on right now.
Is it? So there, we could have that on. So on the test stand, I have an electric fan that I can use instead of this. It tends to make things, we'll call it a little safer. But What's the problem though is that stubby ass.
But Dave, isn't that going to take the pulley off too?
No, it's not. Because we had to change the pulley spacer. So this pulley spacer actually has its own set of bolts that hold it to the water pump, which is kind of nice because now I can get this pulley, I can now get the fan out of the way. I don't have to worry about losing my pulley itself and all the other stuff that was in there to get stuff spaced out enough to let the belt align. Still sitting on those back pegs. Oh, look at the balance on that. Huh? Look at that. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Okay, that's fairly centered. I'll really slowly bring it down. Like, inch it. All right, so right now what I'm doing is bolting on the flex plate. Now, what you see here, this huge steel adapter, is so we can utilize a modern overdrive transmission. And when I say modern, I mean a 700R, not an electronic one, but that allows this outer bell housing to be here and spread everything out and get it in position, and of course bring the flex plate out, and everything will line up relative to the torque converter and then the transmission itself. Now, in original standpoint, this would have used a Dynaflow transmission, which, as explained to me, was kind of a automatic and kind of not. And if you're interested in that, look up the information and understand it, because it's pretty different from today's stuff. But the back of the block never had this bigger outer bell housing bolt pattern. What it utilized is some tight bolts right to the back of the block, because the block is narrow. And then they had that big adapter that went in there, but was a cast piece separate. Reason for doing that is it just made the casting process a whole lot easier and a little more friendly for the manufacturer in the beginning. So making this piece separate made a lot of sense. In today's world, you have to make an adapter plate to go to that. So the first one bolts to the back of the block, and then this one bolts to the adapter so you can get to whatever transmission you're running. So now it's just a matter of getting the flex plate bolts in here and torque down. Then I can mount up the starter, which goes on the last plate, and will obviously bolt from the bottom. And we should be able to spin it over. Just put that right there. All right, here we go. We are on the engine stand. I'm pretty confident I have everything hooked up. We have water, we have fuel, we got fresh fuel lines. I have my electric chokes hooked up. Whoop, they stay on here, there we go. Electric chokes are hooked up. Coil wire is temped up to the stand. And after that, I guess it's a hope and a prayer that this baby fires up and runs like it's supposed to. Hopefully we did everything right. Okay, little fuel into the carb. I don't have any battery. Come on. Hey, it even kicked out. Look at that. Okay, so we got one minor issue resolved for the moment, and that was the starter was, as it was coming out, it was basically binding up on the flex plate. Adding in about a 60,000 shim lowered that down. So what you're doing is, so you have gear teeth, one larger gear on your flex plate or the back of the engine, then you got your gears on your starter. Well, their center lines are lower, so as you lower the starter a little bit, it takes the engagement away from doing this. So you're not bottomed out, you're out here, and that gap should be about 60 thousandths. Quite frankly, I didn't check it before I put it on, so that's what I get. It's not saying our battery is still going to be sufficient yet, but we'll see what happens. At least turns over nicer and starter disengages. All right, I smell fuel. Should be interesting. Let's see what we do. Yeah, I think we're out of whack. Now, someday on one of these engine builds, I'm going to actually put the distributor in not 180 degrees out. I'll have to read up on some textbooks, I suppose, to figure that out, but oh well. Quick and easy problem. Rotated everything around. Everything's good. We had a little water leak in our setup for our test stand. Got that resolved. Starter issue, my fault. It sounds like this is a lot of my fault. But anyhow, I am ready to fire this baby up for the first time and have this project done with. So, yeah, let's get after it. Come on. Now you knew I wasn't gonna start it. You fell for that last time. If you wanna see the end of this, you gotta stay tuned for the time-lapse, full time-lapse video that will be released on December 18th. Until then, thank you for watching all the updates. We have plenty of new projects coming. And of course, you know what to do. Get out in the shop, get your work done. See ya.